Kenya doesn't often make headlines for serial killers, but there's one particular serial killer that a lot of Kenyans are familiar with, Masten Wanjala. If you've heard about him, then you know just how terrifying his story is. Masten Wanjala was no ordinary criminal. He was a self-confessed child serial killer, and the crimes he committed across the country were extremely haunting. So, whether you remember the headlines or you are hearing about this case for the first time, stay with me as we dive deep into the story of Masten Wanjala. But I have to warn you that this case is very disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. Welcome back to the Crime Gist. My name is Damisa. Masten Milima Wanjala was born in 2001 in Bungoma County in Western Kenya. Even before he took his first breath, life was already complicated. His parents, Robert Wanjala and Edna Nabalayo, parted ways while his mother was still pregnant with him. Edna later remarried and moved to Machakos County, taking young Masten with her to start over. Masten was raised by his mom, Edna, and his stepfather, Anthony Musau, in Machakos. Although he had a roof over his head and caring parents, Masten's childhood was far from peaceful. He was known to be a very quiet boy, but there was always something restless about him. He had a rebellious nature, never wanting to follow rules or listen to anyone. He would also often vanish from home and school for days, leaving his family worried and confused. As he reached his teenage years, things only got harder. Hoping to straighten him out, his mom sent him back to Bungoma to live with his biological father. His dad, Robert, enrolled him at Namahele Primary School to continue with his studies. But even here, Masten was like a shadow, hard to catch and always slipping away. He rarely attended classes, struggled with his studies, and soon he dropped out of school altogether. School had never interested him, but there was one thing that lit a spark in his eyes: football. On the field, he came alive, and for a while, it seemed like this sport might give him purpose. But soon, that same passion for football would become a tool that fueled his dark side and the beginning of a very chilling chapter, one that would haunt families across Kenya for years to come. Masten Wanjala's terrifying journey as a serial killer is said to have begun in 2016 when he was just 15 years of age. This was while he was still living with his mom in Machakos County before he went to his dad in Bungoma. His first victim was a 12-year-old girl named Purity Maweo from Kiima Kimwe in Machakos. Wanjala kidnapped Purity, dragged her, and then strangled her before dumping her body in a thicket. His second victim was a 13-year-old boy named Aaron from Kimilili, Bungoma County. This killing was committed while he was living with his dad in Bungoma. He lured this boy with promises of training him in football, dragged him with an unknown drug, and then strangled him. He disposed Aaron's body in a pit latrine. Aaron's murder sparked outrage in the community, leading angry residents to burn down the home of a man they wrongly suspected of involvement. By 2019, Masten left the countryside behind and moved to Nairobi, the bustling capital. In Nairobi, he scraped by on odd and manual jobs, but football remained his calling card. He would often visit football fields where kids were playing, pose as a coach or trainer, befriend the kids who are very ambitious about the sport before kidnapping them, dragging them, and eventually killing them. Year by year, Masten Wanjala's crimes escalated in both frequency and brutality. He targeted children, mostly young boys between the ages of 9 and 15. The method he used was chillingly similar and consistent, posing as a football coach, winning the kids' trust, dragging them and then killing them. He killed them by strangulation or by striking them on the head. The terrifying thing is that he was doing all this just for the thrill of it. He used an unknown white powder to stupefy all his victims. He would force them to sniff the powder, causing them to lose consciousness before committing the heinous act. But as time went by, he decided that he might as well gain something from this. It was then that he graduated to holding his victims hostage and demanding ransom from their families. But he was so cold and calculated that even when the money was paid, he showed no mercy and killed the kids anyway. Two of Masten Wanjala's victims who stood out were 13-year-old Charles Opindo and 12-year-old Junior Mutuku. The two unrelated boys disappeared about a week apart. Junior Mutuku went missing on June 30th, 2021, and Charles Opindo on July 7th of the same year. Both disappeared from Majengo area of Nairobi. They were both held captive in Wanjala's house, where he demanded ransom from their families. Through phone messages, Wanjala asked Junior's mother for 50,000 Kenyan shillings to release her son. He also asked Charles Opindo's father for 30,000 Kenyan shillings to release his son. Despite their desperate attempts to save their children by paying part of the ransom, neither boy ever returned home. Junior, a passionate football player, was lured by the familiar promise of coaching. As we all know, this was Masten Wanjala's sinister signature move. As for Charles Opindo, his dad said that his son simply never came back home from Sagaret Primary School in Majengo. When the two boys went missing, everyone was clinging to hope that they would come back home safely. But when days passed with no word from them, their families took the ransom messages to the police, who immediately launched an investigation. Using the messages as leads, the police tracked down Masten Wanjala's hideout. On July 14, 2021, Masten Wanjala was finally arrested at his cousin's rented house in Kitengela, Kajiado County. During questioning, Wanjala shocked investigators by openly confessing not only to the murder of Charles Opindo and Junior Mutuku, but to the killing of 11 more children over a period of 5 years and across several counties. He described his crimes with chilling calmness, explaining how he drugged and strangled his victims. Wanjala cooperated extensively with the police, leading them to at least 6 crime scenes around Nairobi, Machakos, and Bungoma counties. At these locations, officers recovered bodies in horrifying conditions, some submerged in sewage pools and others hidden in thickets or shallow graves. For example, the bodies of Charles Opindo and Junior Mutuku were found in a sewage pool in Spring Valley Estate in Westlands. In Kengero, near Lower Kabete Approved School, they recovered 2 more kids from a river. Wanjala took the detectives to Kimilili, Bungoma, where 9-year-old Emmanuel Wafula was found killed and dumped in a latrine. In Kimilili, they also recovered the body of Aaron, a 13-year-old boy whom he had killed in 2019. He confessed to many more child murders across Machakos, Bungoma, and Nairobi counties. The bodies of at least 4 of his victims were recovered. He also revealed a scrapbook where he had meticulously recorded and detailed each murder, marking dates and victims' names in a pocket calendar. Wanjala even admitted to enjoying the act of killing, which shows a disturbing lack of remorse. But despite his confessions and cooperation, 4 more charges against him were delayed. This was due to slow-moving investigations and repeated extensions requested by police. The court process was delayed because the police claimed they needed more time to visit additional crime scenes. On at least 2 occasions, they asked for his plea taking to be deferred to allow them time to conclude investigations. With his plea deferred multiple times, Masten was held at the cells in Jogoo Road Police Station awaiting court hearings. In his last court appearance, the prosecutor applied for a mental assessment at Mathari Hospital before presenting him to the High Court on murder charges. The wheels of justice were moving very slowly, but finally, Masten's court appearance was scheduled for October 13, 2021. But on the morning of the said court appearance, during a routine roll call at Jogoo Road Police Station, officers discovered that Masten had disappeared from his cell. There were no signs of a breakout since there were no broken bars and no forced locks. Soon, the shocking truth emerged. The door to his cell had not been locked all night. Officers on duty claimed that a power outage had plunged the station into darkness, giving Masten Wanjala the perfect cover to slip away unnoticed. Hours of frantic searching for him turned up nothing. He was simply gone. How could such a high-profile suspect, a self-confessed serial killer, simply walk out of a police station that is guarded around the clock? Many suspected that Masten had some help from inside. The news of Masten Wanjala's escape set off a firestorm across Kenya. Social media exploded with outrage as Kenyans questioned the competence and integrity of the police force. Calls for accountability grew louder by the hour. The scandal quickly led to action. 3 police officers, Philip Mbithi, Boniface Mutuma, and Precious Mwinzi, were arrested and charged with negligence and aiding Wanjala's escape. However, in 2024, they were acquitted for lack of sufficient evidence. After Masten Wanjala's shocking escape from Jogoo Road Police Station, a nationwide manhunt was launched. Authorities considered him a threat to the public and especially to children. For 2 tense days, all of Kenya watched and waited, anxious for news. Then, in a twist that no one saw coming, Wanjala resurfaced in his hometown in Bungoma. How he managed to travel the nearly 8-hour journey from Nairobi without being recognized remains a mystery. Early on the morning of October 15, 2021, as he walked through the village, a former football teammate spotted him. He called out Wanjala's name, spooking him. Suddenly, a group of people began to gather, pointing and whispering, "That's the serial killer." Within moments, a crowd had formed, and Wanjala realized that his cover was blown. Panicked, he dashed into a neighbor's house, breaking in through the window. The house belonged to a school principal who was not home at the time. The mob outside by now was getting angry and relentless. They surrounded the house, threatening to light it on fire if he didn't come out. However, he remained in the house, refusing to come out. Soon, the house owner was called and informed of what was going on. Within minutes, she came and opened the door. Masten was found hiding in the bathroom and dragged out. He had a knife which he brandished on them but was eventually overpowered. The mob then descended on him with rocks, sticks, and any weapons they could find. Masten was beaten and lynched to death just a few kilometers from his father's homestead in Mokwea village. At just 20 years old, Masten Wanjala's life ended as violently as the crimes he committed. Many saw the mob's actions as a form of justice and a desperate response to a judicial system that had failed to keep them and their kids safe. One of the guys who was present during Masten Wanjala's lynching told reporters, "We couldn't wait for the police to fail again." This lynching of Masten Wanjala exposed a deep mistrust in authorities. Using basic verification methods, police confirmed that the man lynched by the mob in Mukwaya village in Bungoma was indeed Masten Wanjala. His parents, horrified by his crimes, disowned him completely and refused to bury his body. They were fearing that his actions had brought a curse upon them. This left Wanjala's body in the mortuary, unclaimed and in limbo for months. It also revealed the deep shame, stigma, and social disgrace that his crimes had brought on his family and the community. Later, in a twist, Wanjala's father changed his stance and requested for his son's body. He pleaded for forgiveness on behalf of his son from the families of the victims, all while condemning the mob justice that had ended his son's life. One family member even said that they were considering suing the government for Masten Wanjala's death. It seemed like the family didn't know exactly how to process everything, finding themselves caught between cultural beliefs, public outrage, and personal grief. Masten Wanjala's mother remained awfully quiet throughout this whole thing. Kenya's criminal justice system faced intense criticism following this case. Many Kenyans questioned how someone as notorious as Masten Wanjala could slip through the cracks. They pointed to corruption, investigation gaps, and poor case management as key factors. These are the deep-rooted challenges that allowed a high-profile suspect like Wanjala to escape so easily. While the brutal lynching of Wanjala reflected the community's anger and desperation, it also raised serious concerns about mob justice in Kenya. The violent end to his life denied victims' families the chance to see him face formal trial and justice. This left many families without closure, especially since several kids believed to have been killed by Wanjala have never been found. Masten Wanjala's reign of terror may have ended, but the pain and unanswered questions still linger. How many young lives could have been saved had Masten Wanjala been stopped sooner? While some may feel a sense of relief that he can no longer harm anyone, the scars he left behind run deep. Countless parents are still mourning, their lives forever changed by the cruel actions of a young man who preyed on their innocent children. As we close this chapter, let's not forget the real victims, that is, the young lives stolen far too soon and the families left searching for answers. Behind every true crime story like this are real people, real families, and a real need for justice and healing. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to share this episode with other true crime junkies like yourself. Until next time, stay safe.